Okay, now it's time for us to do a recap, a review, and a summary of what we did.
Brad and Diana from It's About Time Now. Well, we set out to take a trip across the USA, and we did it. We're back home now here in Florida. We thought we would cover some of what we learned on our trip across the country. How far did we go?
We went all the way to the Pacific Coast, went to Washington State. I think we saw 23 states, 8 national parks, an additional 16 national historical sites, historical monuments, all sorts of national designations. We saw 4 state parks and a plethora of other things.
11,000 miles in 11 and a half weeks. That's what we drove. 11,000 miles. It's not that far across the country, but apparently we were zigzagging as we went. It was an epic, I don't know any other word to use than that. It was an epic trip. Truly amazing.
So we have some top 3s. I have a list of top 3 national parks. Should I give my list
I
first?
didn't put my list by national park. I just said my top 3 things that I saw.
Okay, well, should we go in reverse order? From like 3 to 1 or 1 to 3?
Any way you want.
Okay. Well, my top 3 is actually 5. So there's some ties in there. And I went by national parks, and one of the items on my list is actually a national monument. So that's not going to get the top rating for me. But in order of the national parks, for me, the top 3rd one, drumroll please, is the tie. And it's the Grand Tetons is tying with the Theodore Roosevelt National Park. And then in the number 2 place is the Badlands, because that was just the first, to me, epic, amazing park we went to. And then in the number 1 place is Yellowstone. And then that 4th item that I didn't mention, sort of the honorable mention, is Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, mine went a whole different direction. My top number 1 was Mount Rushmore, because I had wanted to see that since I was a small child. Followed that up with Yellowstone and Grand Teton, and then probably 3rd place would be the Badlands. If I was picking any 3, I mean, not to take anything away from the Minuteman missile silos, Mammoth Cave, any of the other things that we saw.
Well, we had it most surprising, I think, or most surprising and interesting was the
in the middle of Idaho.
the middle of Idaho came across EBR-1.
Right, a little experimental breeder reactor number 1, the first nuclear atomic energy reactor in the country.
And also on our list, with Yellowstone being number 1, we didn't include on there, which probably should have, but for us, we had been there before, and I think we need to talk about it. The Olympics and North Cascades. They have some phenomenal things that can't be missed.
Yeah, the Olympic National Park, which is the Olympic Mountain Range, and the North Cascades Mountain Range out in Washington. Of course, they do travel much further than that, but that's where we viewed them. And we had seen them before, so, kind of didn't make the list of things that we were seeing for the first time. But it was, those are absolutely amazing journeys.
Which includes Ruby Beach and Crescent Lake in the Olympics, and Lake Diablo.
Yeah, Diablo Lake.
In the North Cascades.
The little town of Winthrop. And if you finish the loop, the little town of Leavenworth in the North Cascades. All just pretty amazing. The sights themselves from Mount Washington and the North Cascades and driving all through that mountain range was pretty good. Just pretty amazing.
Yeah. I was also mostly surprised with 2 states. The 2 states that surprised me the most was Wyoming and Montana. I thought Montana was just straight flat, and so not. All those huge mountains are there. And Wyoming, when we first got there, I thought that was the representation of Wyoming. Just like 80 miles of nothing between tiny little towns. just like pretty much flat with some bluffs every once in a while. And then Wyoming just surprised us with the west and the mountains and the canyons and Yellowstone. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Okay, now for the numbers. Our trip was 11 and a half weeks. We saw 23 states. We mooch docked. We stayed at Harvest Host and military bases for a total of 43 nights. We also stayed, we went to 4 state parks and 2 city parks. All of that did keep our average nightly costs down. We stayed at 5 KOAs and 14 private campgrounds and 1 casino. We think that that was a pretty good mix of places to stay. And so our total average cost per night was $23, and the total cost actually came out to a round number of $1,800 total. That was what it cost. So there you go. Well, we're home. Our goal is okay, and we did it.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. We are continuing our travels, and we invite you to come along with us and enjoy the ride.